Hey guys, today I want to go over some Li-Ming tips as well as 4 mistakes that you're commonly making on Li-Ming, and I want to end it off with a couple builds that I highly recommend trying out on Li-Ming and seeing how they go. The first mistake that I commonly see on Li-Ming is people are clearing waves inefficiently by throwing the W at the first minion that's in the wave. It usually just does damage to the frontline minions, which if you look at it, frontline minions only do 6 damage, while backline minions do about 100. So you don't want to be doing that to frontline minions. Instead, what you want to do is you want to try to aim your W to where it hits the middle of it, to where you hit a mage minion as well as do a lot of damage on the ranged minions. So I get a little bit of vision, and I send it out, and I hit all the ranged minions as well as I hit the melee minion, or one of the melee minions and the mage minions. So you get all of the minions really low, and you can pretty much just clear them out from there. And that's the fastest way to do it, but there's also another efficient way of doing it to where, let's say you walk into the lane late, and the minions have already settled. There's another way that you can do it where you can hit a lot of the enemies by simply positioning in a way to where the W hits a large chunk of the minions as well. And if you practice this enough, you can actually get it to where it hits the entire minion wave quite a few percentage of the time, quite a bit of the time, right? Speaking a little weird, it's a little late tonight. I'm going to be scheduling this for another day. But yeah, that's effectively where one of the first mistakes is with Li-Ming is people commonly are clearing waves inefficiently. All right. The next tip that I want to give is simply on a level 1 talent, which is Astral Presence. And what this level 1 talent does is it makes it to where when you're low mana, you regen faster. Well, how Li-Ming works is when you get a reset on a kill, or when you kill someone, you get a reset on all of your abilities. Well, what happens is when you're at this low of mana, when you're at 25% of your mana, I'm going to set the level at 4 really quick as just a quick example. So at level 4, let's say you pick up Astral Presence. By the time this thing triggers, you're on about 125. You'll be at about 125 to 175 mana, but that only gives you enough mana to maybe throw out 1 or 2 more abilities, which makes it very hard to continue getting kill after kill after kill because you're so low. So what's instead recommended to pick up is Power Hungry, and what Power Hungry does is Power Hungry makes it to where every time you get a regen globe, you gain more mana from the regen globe. So I'm going to show you kind of an example of what this looks like. Let me throw out a lot of abilities and get my mana a little bit lower, and then I'll show you how much mana you get back from a single regen globe. But it does something else. It also makes it to where for 20 seconds you do 10% more spell damage. So what I find is really good is if the enemy hero decides to leave the lane, you can pick up an orb, and then you can take that bonus damage, and you can get a lot of free damage off on the structures. So if I was to take this orb right here, I get the bonus damage, and at level 4, I just want to show you how much damage you can do to a tower. And of course, I would have done an extra 100 damage. But you can quickly do a lot of damage over the course of this 20 seconds. And so if you're left in lane and you got an orb, you can do a considerable amount of damage. Of course, I'm getting hit by minions, but when you're in lane and the minions are all attacking other minions and the lanes are a lot shorter, you can do this very easily, and you can do about half of a tower's health in a single globe. That is how powerful Power Hungry can be. And of course, you're not pushing the wave, but if you're left alone, which happens a lot early game, or if you just stomped the person you're going against in lane, you can quickly grab an orb, and you can start just dishing out as much damage as you want to the enemy tower. And again, you can do a lot of damage very, very quickly. So that's the second tip, is just that getting Power Hungry. The third tip that I want to recommend is the third and fourth tip that I want to recommend are both based off of your ultimate abilities. So the first tip that I want to recommend, let's get the regular build that I'll share and explain why I go this build. And there are 2 ultimate abilities. The first ultimate that I want to talk about is Wave of Force. It's a knockback, and I feel that too many new players always go Disintegrate. And it's just because it does way more damage than Wave of Force, as well as it is very easy to get resets off of, right? Because you do a Disintegrate on someone, and you can pretty much grab them at like the last bit of their health so you can get a reset, right? Well, that's definitely a good thing that you want to do, here and there. But Wave of Force, it's a big mistake that a lot of new players don't get this against heroes that you want to be interrupting abilities, like Shen or ETC, where they do a channeled ability and you can interrupt. Also, I mean, if you start seeing like mind controls or some really weird stuff that are commonly interrupted, Wave of Force is very good. The last tip, again, has to do with the level 10 talents, which is Disintegrate. What people don't know about Disintegrate is a lot of times people will throw out all of their abilities and use Disintegrate right before someone dies just because they know, hey, I'm going to get the cooldown back. But the problem is while I see this mentality all the way up to Diamond, it's okay to use Disintegrate right as someone's about to die just to get resets, but if you're in the situation where someone's about to die and all of your abilities are still on, like you still have them available, don't use Disintegrate if your team's already going to get a kill. Yes, you could get a reset. Yes, you can get extra health from the level 4 talent, but there's a lot of situations where I see people use Disintegrate when they don't need to, and it takes 80 mana. Comparatively to your Q, which only takes 20 mana, which can just as easily get an assist. Or your E, which takes 30 mana. Or your W, which, I mean, takes 40 mana. Burning 80 mana on a character that resets will likely give you all of your abilities back, and you're going to run out of mana very quickly, is very, very bad. So, this is a mistake I see all the way up to Masters, where people use Disintegrate right as someone's about to die, even if they don't need the health from Dominance, even if they don't need the resets from any of their abilities, and even if the kill was already guaranteed. Disintegrate is a high mana cost ability. Stop making the mistake of wasting it just because you can get a reset or you can get some more scoreboard, right? So those are the main 4 mistakes that I commonly see, and definitely ones that you want to look out for. So I want to get into some of the builds and possible other tips that I think of them while I get there, and we'll kind of go from there. So the original build that you will see the most of on this is, or on Li-Ming, is for level 1 you either get Power Hungry, because I've showed you the benefits of Power Hungry. It keeps you in lane a lot longer, keeps you in fights a lot longer, as well as it gives you spell power that you can abuse by taking structures early, which gives you a lot of experience for your team. Then the other option is Force Armor. If they have a lot of mages on their team, getting 50 spell armor and you could store up to 4 charges allows you to survive the burst of a lot of different spellcasters and can be extremely beneficial. So for this sake, I'm going to pick Power Hungry. At level 4, it's often, for the first build that I'm explaining, is going to be called the Reset build. And the Reset build is essentially based on getting resets. So we want Dominance for the resets. Calamity allows you another ability that deals damage, which makes it easier for you to get resets, because it's a more guaranteed ability. Say there's a tank that's sitting in your way, your W is going to be interrupted, your Q is going to be interrupted, but your E, you can jump over the tank and slap someone with your E and deal some damage. Then at level 20, picking up Disintegrate is usually the best because it allows you to get resets more often. However, pick up Wave of Force if you want to be interrupting enemies. In this case, we're going to be picking up Disintegrate. At level 13, it's recommended you pick up the Illusionist. And I know there's some discussion about the other ones, but the reason why is you want the longer range for your CC, as well as if you take damage, if someone dives on you, you get your E off cooldown much faster. At level 16, there are a few talents you can pick. However, for the reset build, it's mostly recommended to make your Q a stronger ability, as well as it increases the mana cost. And then finally, at level 20, there are a variety of talents, but if you picked Disintegrate for the reset build, you want to pick Tal Rash's Elements. This allows you to increase the damage of your abilities by making sure that you don't repeat an ability. Which, because of a reset build, what's going to happen is you're going to throw all of your abilities out, and then you're going to get them reset, and then you're going to throw them all out again, which is going to increase your spell damage by quite a bit. I'm going to give you an example of how much damage you can do to a tower now. You can destroy towers very quickly. Let me show you on the other tower by doing toggle cooldowns really quick. And let's say you were able to get resets on someone. You could do half of a tower right there. Assume you got a reset. It's a lot of damage. Let's refresh forts and show how much damage I just did. 4,000 damage, but I would do half of that in one combo, so about 2,150 damage. Let's go on a target dummy and kind of show this really quick. So 2600 damage, you get a reset, and 6000 damage. You could see how fast it can move up very quickly, and you can do quite a bit of damage. So that's the reset build put in a nutshell. You can change your level 1 talent to Force Armor. You can change your level 20 talent to Repulsion, as well as your 10 to Wave of Force. And getting Repulsion is very, very beneficial. A lot of people don't realize how beneficial it actually is, because Repulsion increases the knockback radius of your Wave of Force, which allows it to be a kind of a mini Horrify. And I'll show that in just a little bit. So the second build that you can do, which this build you won't see a lot in pro play. However, this build has a pretty high win rate on certain maps like BOE where you need a lot of DPS. So what you do with this build is, again, same level 1 rules apply. So let's go Power Hungry. Then you go straight Q talents. You go Q, you go Q. Let's go Wave of Force just to show it. And at this level, there's a few things you can do, but it's usually recommended that you go Illusionist if you're against dive heroes, or if you're purely going for the DPS, what you can do is you can go for Cannoneer. In this case, I'm showing this for a BOE build, which means that you're going to go for Cannoneer, and then you go for Fireflies. Now, Mirror Ball, if you don't pick this talent and this talent, Mirror Ball actually has more DPS than Fireflies. However, with the reduced cooldowns combined with these two, it does make it to where Fireflies deals more DPS, and we're going to show Repulsion. So this is effectively how this build works. And on BOE, you sit for a while and you DPS. So this build is all about having low cooldowns on Q, abusing your auto attacks, and just getting a high DPS. It's about 1000 DPS at level 20 when you combine your other abilities and all that, but it does get to higher DPS. So I want to share kind of how Repulsion works. Let me toggle cooldowns really quick. And I want to show you how far you can knock enemies away. It's quite a launch. So I like to use Repulsion, Wave of Force into Repulsion, as a mini Horrify. Horrify being Gul'dan's ultimate ability. Because Horrify splits everyone up from the middle as they all fear away from the middle location. So effectively, you can send people, and it increases the range by quite a bit. Which means that as your team is initiating into a fight, you could very quickly put it in front of the enemy, and as they're running up there, you could quickly just hit them and then move the enemy all the way up to your team. So it allows Wave of Force to be a very, very powerful tool for splitting the enemies apart, as well as to engaging and getting the enemies into your team. And you can quickly, like, move them over. And the cool part about Wave of Force as well is it's a very fast ability that does a lot of damage. So if you're going for a reset, you can do quite a bit of damage and immediately get a reset. It's much faster than Disintegrate, and in the reset build, it is kind of neat just because you're resetting a bunch of instant abilities. So if you wanted to, let me reset the talents one more time, and I'm going to show you the amount of damage you can do in a full reset build really quickly. So we're going to go with Power Hungry, Dominance, Teleport deals damage, Wave of Force, Illusionist, Mirror Ball, as well as Repulsion. So this is often the build that you'll see the pros go, and effectively you W from long range, and then you get into close range for your E, and then you do this and that. And it's 3,134 damage, which is more than the entirety health of a Li-Ming, which is also more than a Tracer, which is also more than a Vala, which is also more than a lot of the assassins that you deal with. So you can effectively get resets by yourself if you do all of your combos correctly, and if you follow up on a stun. At level 20, Li-Ming alone can lead to kills. And it gets still a lot easier if you do pick Tal Rasha's because you're doing a lot more damage. So I hope these tips helped out. I hope the mistakes are fixed. I know they're very simple mistakes, simple tips. So for the experienced players out there, I apologize if you watch this entire video and you're like, I knew all of this stuff already. Because yes, this is more of a beginner's video, but I can't tell you how often I see these mistakes all the way up to masters. So I figured I would make a video. If you guys have any other Li-Ming tips or mistakes that are commonly made, please throw them in the comments below, as people would love to hear those. As well as if you guys would like to see any other types of guides that you want me to make, I can definitely make those. Thank you so much.